Now, a lot of people are trying to make this presidential election a war of man versus woman, a war of young versus old, a war between people of no color and people of color. And when this happens, a lot of the important stuff kind of gets lost. By that, I mean that we're oftentimes distracted from the most important aspects of this election, which are the policies. The policies that a presidential nominee supports can have wide reaching effects across the entire country. So it's important to know them. You need to know what policies have your personal interest in mind, and you need to know who and what the presidential nominees support. So I'm hoping to break down some of these policies for all of you so that you can know exactly what you are voting for, because it goes far beyond these broad strokes that people are trying to focus on. You need to focus on the effects that both of these two incredibly important and powerful people can have on your daily life and the lives of your children, your grandparents, your aunts, your uncles, your friends, your cousins, your bosses, your coworkers, and everybody else, okay? And of course, your parents. So let's break it down, shall we? Let's start with Donald Trump, shall we? Here are some of the key policies that Donald Trump supports for his presidential campaign in 2024. Climate change. Trump opposes most climate change legislation and has rolled back environmental regulations. He aims to actually increase domestic oil and gas production and opposes government subsidies for wind power development. So what does that mean? You heard that Glorilla song?
Hey, it's 7 p.m. Friday. It's 95 degrees.
That means it's not only going to be 95 degrees on Friday. It's going to be over 95 degrees every day. I know you feel it in that this summer has been incredibly hot, which means that our summers will get hotter, our winters will get colder, and prices of things most likely will continue to go up, because once the climate is affected, the whole world is affected. And not only that, but the food you eat is affected too, because certain crops can't grow when it's too hot or too cold, which means, you know how you don't like those high grocery prices? They'll keep going up. Crime and policing. So Trump emphasizes public safety concerns and supports increased powers for police and criticizes Democratic policies on crime. He signed the First Step Act into law during his presidency, which aimed at criminal justice reform. Meaning, well, I mean, he has been very clear about his stance on this so far, but he essentially plans on having the police be more autonomous, meaning that they have more power and they'll have immunity against crimes that they commit against the average person. So police will have a lot of power to do a lot of things, whether for good or for bad. Moment of silence for Sonia Massey. Education. Trump actually calls for closing the U.S. Department of Education. He says that he wants to give more control over education to the states and to parents, not the trained professionals who have to deal with your children every day. He's actually taken a firm stance on cultural issues impacting education, including the erasure of diversity, equity, and inclusion programs across the country, meaning that people of color's stories and histories will not be taught in educational settings, even though they are a crucial part of our history as Americans. He also wants to ban all transgender students from participating in school sports. Stay tuned for part 2.